I think you guys are the unsung heroes. I mean, when you look at the photos nowadays and the videos that are produced, they are unreal.
My mindset is all about marketing. When I'm doing a shoot in a club, I'm all about, well, how can I make it look good? How can I make you sell tickets so people, it creates the FOMO for people and they want to come. I started taking photos for fun after I played there in the club. I would upload the photos to a website called don'tstayin.com. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Of course. What are your thoughts on mobile phones in clubs?
When you've got a phone and you're filming, you cannot immerse yourself in music. You cannot be present and feel that moment. It's not possible.
Which club has the least phones up in the air on the dance floor?
This is an interesting one. So actually, I think the club that has the least phones up on the dance floor is...
Send your kids to bed, because you're going to be listening to...
Dirty autumn DJs are just gagging.
For those joining us today, I'd like to introduce Marc de Groot. Many of you will have seen Marc's work, both photography and videography. Marc's a regular face on the Ibiza circuit and probably worldwide. I don't actually know Marc. I'll probably find out more now. And I wanted to get his view of Ibiza and the industry through the lens of his camera, because he obviously works with us, and you must see the event industry through quite a different perspective.
Thanks for inviting me along here.
First of all, my friend, I have no idea where you're from.
I'm from Essex. I'm from Southend Essex.
The name sounded very French.
Okay, no, it's Dutch name.
It's
my great-granddad was from Holland, from Amsterdam. So yeah, that's where I got the name from.
And for those who are also watching, Marc is currently sat on a roof in Ibiza, so you can hear the seagulls.
Maybe you get to see some seagulls in the background
so
as
this
well.
is really authentic. And how long have you lived in Ibiza?
So, well, I've been shooting in Ibiza. This is season number 19. But I've actually lived here full time, in the summer for 6 months since 2012.
Okay. So you're from,
not quite as long.
Yeah. You're from Essex. And what first sparked your interest into photography and creativity behind the lens?
Well, what got me into photography was, so before being a photographer, I was a DJ. Well, I still am a DJ, but not quite as much. So, I used to, DJ, you remember the night Miss Moneypennies?
Yes, of course.
Which
With
is like
Lee
from Birmingham.
and all those guys, yeah.
Yeah, so they did like a kind of tour around the UK, and once a month they would do, on a Saturday, they would have their event in Southend, at a club in Southend, and I would be like the resident DJ when they played there once a month. And anyway, so I started taking photos for fun after I played there in the club, and then things just shot up really quickly. Like after the first week, like the club started paying me a little bit of money, and then I would upload the photos to a website called don'tstayin.com. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Of course. It comes up in a lot of these podcasts.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, so it was Don't Stay In that really properly launched my career,
No way.
got me networking, and kind of got my name and face around with all the club promoters in London, which is where I've kind of, before I came shooting Ibiza, that's where I was shooting first in
because
London.
Obviously everyone's been asking about the photography, the library from Don't Stay In, because it's been deleted now, isn't it?
It has, yeah. But I mean, if anyone's like lucky enough to been in the same club where I've been at, then I still keep everything that I've shot. So
really? You're a hoarder of everything, are you?
For most things, no, I'm like not a hoarder whatsoever. But when it comes to photos, I'm like completely hoarding everything.
Brilliant. We've got a graphic designer, Jake, and I worked with him for what? God, it must be over 10, 15 years. And I can ask him for something like from way back, and he'll go, here it is, within like 30 seconds. You know, he's got everything just beautifully ordered from for forever, you know. And so Obviously, photography has some sort of a level of skill and a talent. Was there anybody that taught you, or is it self-taught, or did you have a mentor, or?
I'm completely self-taught anyway. And the way I started was just kind of a little bit rogue, a little bit of cowboy. I was just kind of doing what I wanted, breaking the rules. I was always obsessed with shooting things differently from having a look at it from different from everyone else. And I guess I'm still like that now. But yeah, just kind of wrote my own rules. And with club photography, when I first started, there wasn't really anyone to sort of look up to so much. There wasn't really anyone who was like doing much, or anyone that was that interested in. So I just kind of made up my own rules, and I kind of ended up being a mentor to a lot of people over the years as well.
So you've turned into the mentor.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew you were a DJ as well, and it's actually, I forgot to add it to my questions. And I've seen your name on lineups before, and I didn't realize that it was, and that was where you started. I thought you'd kind of come from the photography world and gone, "Oh, this is a bit interesting."
Yeah, a lot of people would assume that I started as a photographer and then kind of being used to that scene. Oh, and I'll try my hand at DJing because I'm in that scene already. Actually, no, it's the other way around.
Exactly,
it's completely the other way around. I started DJing in 1995, and then in 2005 is when I bought my first camera. So it's completely the other way around. And I got into photography, club photography, because of DJing.
Ah, so you're a vinyl boy then, yeah?
Yeah, I started off on
vinyl.
vinyl.
Because I started in the early 90s. And I bought records all around London and up Essex Way and all sorts of stuff like that. So we probably went to, I don't even know, how old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
48.
No way. Really?
Yeah.
You look incredibly young for because that's the same age as me. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Wow. So you must have been frequenting the same clubs, and we must have been doing the same things. Did you go into central London a lot when you were like in your teens, early 20s?
Not much, actually. Yeah, I went to a few clubs, but not much. Like maybe once every 2 or 3 months or something like that. But as a DJ, I was pretty much just kind of stayed quite local in Essex. I didn't really venture out. I didn't really push it out that much.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm finding out all sorts of new stuff about you. I was just saying to Mark earlier that I've only really spoken to you in clubs and on the phone, and I've just noticed all your tattoos and everything, because when we're in a club, it's dark, it's loud, there's other lights going off, it's noisy, and you were saying that you don't even understand, you don't even recognize people's voices at times.
Yeah, like you're saying with the tattoos, it's so dark you don't really see things like that. And it's funny with accents, because when it's loud and in the clubs everyone's shouting each other's ears, you don't properly hear what people's accents are. And I remember like being friends with people in clubs and kind of speaking to them many times for many years over clubs, and then you meet them again not in a club, and you go, "Oh my God, you're a northerner or you're Welsh," and you're kind of like, "What? I didn't know you had that accent." Yeah, it's just you just don't hear it in the clubs.
Sometimes it is so loud. I mean, I was going to explain to you earlier. I met somebody yesterday, literally only yesterday. She's from Croatia. She was working in McDonald's, and I went and got a coffee while I was waiting for my son, and she came out with an English accent. She spoke fluent English in an English accent. And I said, "How did you live in England?" She goes, "I've never been to England." She just watched English soaps. When
she just picked up on the accent.
Picked up on the accent. She said she used to be able to switch between American and English, and now she's just gone completely English. So yeah,
impressive.
Anyway, I'm digressing. What brought you to Ibiza, and what year was that? So that would be 20 odd years ago.
Other than a family holiday in 1984, I'm showing my age here.
Yeah.
Not much to say about that, but I had my first lads holiday in 1998, and that was the first time properly experiencing nightclubs in Ibiza, and that was really good, actually. I went to Cream, funny enough.
Good years.
I think that was it. I think that could have been either their first year or certainly their first years anyway, and that was good. I wasn't really into the music, to be honest, but the vibe was amazing. But I was more at that time. I was more into like funky house and soulful house and things like that.
Yeah. I think around 98, I was the same, but very much into my No, I wasn't actually. I started getting into my harder stuff, my harder house.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, it
yeah.
was really good though.
Yeah.
And that's of course, that very night cream Amnesia was in Kevin Perry, of course,
Yeah.
which is which inspired one of your nights.
Yeah, which obviously that's where I've first met you, I believe, at Kevin.
Of course.
I've seen all your work before. I mean, I think I really picked up on your work when you started, when Clockwork came back, and you were doing work with Clockwork. And I remember seeing some of your work then, and that's when I started following you a little bit more. Because I wasn't doing anything at the time. But who else have you've done you've done probably all of the clubs out here, I imagine.
Yeah, I think I've shot in every single club out over the years. Like there's some clubs I've not shot at for a few years, but yeah, like at some point I've shot in literally every club. And one of the going back to when we were talking about the lads' holiday, is one of the reasons that they decided to come to Ibiza, because I kind of wanted to experience the music, but they were inspired by a TV show on Sky One called Ibiza Uncovered. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do, indeed.
Yeah. So and what was interesting about that is it featured heavily a lot on Clockwork Orange, and Danny from Clockwork.
Yep, it did.
Was in that show a lot, and going full circle, he's one of my good clients, Clockwork Orange.
Yeah,
so.
no, I spoke with Danny 2 days ago on the phone. Danny's a fellow sober journey traveler like myself. And when I left Ibiza, I knew that I was drinking too much, and that continued with me. And Danny was one of the first people I ever reached out to and said, "Danny, I need some help here. What do I do?" And
That's amazing.
And many of us were the same from our era. Many of our era, when the VIP culture really started hitting, and we felt that the island was changing, and many of us left. And I found that a lot of us who came home from that particular, like the noughties period, actually did come home with drink problems or some sort of issue.
It's part of the Gen X culture, and Gen X, we are the generation of alcoholics and drug abusers. That's just our generation.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of podcasts recently with other professionals within the industry, and we all agree that the culture now are far more into health. They don't do the drugs as much. They're not drinking as much. I mean, the West End is just a sign of that. The West End, when we were back in the day, it was just a drinking den.
Rammed.
Yeah, wasn't it?
Full of rowdy people, fights. You don't get that kind of bad behaviour there anymore.
I don't think, even if Ocean Beach, Universe, High, Ushuaia, I don't think, even if they shut their doors tomorrow, I don't think West End would work with the current people. That it's a completely different culture now. But yeah, we were definitely very big drinkers, and I think prices are different as well now. So what made you make the move to work in Ibiza?
Like I said earlier, I was like doing a lot of shooting for London promoters, and one of my clients then I was doing shit for, it was Azuli Records. So they were actually the first promoter to reach out to me and say, like, "Hey, do you want to come and shoot in Ibiza?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, of course." And one of the most exciting things about that transition from London clubs to shoot parties in Ibiza is like, well, you can take pictures of people in the sunshine with a blue sky during a day, without having to like be in a boring looking sort of dark nightclub. And that was amazing. And back then, lights weren't impressive like they are now. There was no sort of LED screens with DJs' names on, and there just wasn't so much emphasis on good, strong lighting in clubs. And plus, the cameras weren't anywhere near as good in low light as they are now. So we had to use a flash. So you use a flash in the background to be kind of dark and boring. So to have in contrast, to have to be able to shoot parties with amazing lighting and blue sky was just like the most beautiful, amazing thing ever. I was just like so sold on that. I was like,
did it make it easier? with the
Easy
lighting.
in a way, because
Yeah.
you've kind of got consistent lighting, and then you can actually shoot people from far away because they're already lit and you don't have to have a flash near them. But at the same time, it's kind of like also really challenging as well, because the sun is just in one spot and then people's faces are in all different angles. So it's actually a bit of a technical challenge as well.
Ah, so so it's a different skill from daytime to nighttime. So you have to
Yeah. It's a good. They're both like have challenging skills. You know, low light photography is very technical in itself, and also working with sunlight is can be challenging depending on the angle you're shooting at, and also the angle of what time of day it is, and all that kind of thing.
I mean, I should have said this at the beginning of the interview, actually, that the reason why I wanted to speak to someone of your stature and status in the industry is because I think you guys are the unsung heroes a little bit, because there is some, I mean, when you look at the photos nowadays and the videos that are produced, they are unreal, you know? And I know that I know if I get a video back from you, I'm guaranteed that that would work well on an ad, and the photos are going to really engage well on our socials, which is so important for a promoter. And if honestly, we've been through other photographers, and some of them work we've got back are like, wow, that's just not up to what we were expecting.
It's a different mindset, isn't it? With photographers think very differently. Well, some photographers are like straight up artists, and they want to make things arty and look arty, and things look cool. You know, you could be really arty and take a picture of like something on the floor would make a great piece of art. Is it gonna make you as a promoter sell tickets? Absolutely not.
No.
But my mindset is all about marketing. When I'm doing a shoot in a club, I'm all about, well, how can I make it look good? How can I like make you sell tickets so people it creates the FOMO for people and they want to come to the event. So that's mainly my mindset.
Absolutely. There are asset without, I mean, besides like email list and like social media followers, that's most our important assets. Regular, current, up-to-date photos and video. I mean, I really struggle with events that don't have footage. Like, for example, the first ever Kevin and Perry, we had nothing except the film, so we had to do the whole promo just on clips from the film and of Kevin and Perry. But as soon as we started getting photos and videos back, it just changed the promotional angle and made it so much easier for us because we could blend the two, and then we could start moving away from the film censored footage.
Yeah, it's important. People can want to visualize what it looks like. And what it feels like to be in a club, I guess. And without it, it's kind of like people a bit afraid of the unknown, and they don't want to like kind of go if they're not seeing it. But yeah, if you've got something good visually to show people what it looks like, then that's going to help you sell more tickets, isn't it?
What is you do both photography and you do
photos and
videography. Do you prefer one over the other, or do you prefer?
They're both important. And I probably get booked about 50-50 for each of them. But as a medium, I think photos are a little bit more cool, more timeless than video.
Yeah. And people's attention span is so much lower nowadays. So you might get a video which people will see the first few seconds, and then their drop-off's huge, so they won't see the rest of it. But with a photo, boom, it's there. And I'm really glad you said that, because I have this argument with clubs sometimes about when they announce something, and it's not all clubs, but it's some venues, and I want to go with the artwork or a really stunning image, because they can just see it, and they can see it for what it is there and then, like that, you know. But then the venue will want to go with a 30-second video, and I'm just like, no, not yet. Do you see where I'm coming from? Because I know that they'll just be scrolling through it, and they might be in a queue in McDonald's, and they won't watch it. So
proof's in the pudding, isn't it? They should listen to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you sell tickets.
Yeah, exactly. I much prefer images. I know video is essential, but I think images really do in this in the way people's current brain sets are and the way they just skim through things. I think images are far more important. But hey, what do we know? When was it? When did it first appear to you? Sorry, when was your first like this is really happening moment? Like you're going to stay in Ibiza and you're going to make a career out of being a creative. Was there ever a moment that you decided, right, this is it?
Well, every single time I flew to Ibiza and worked there, I got more interest. So my days of coming to Ibiza got longer, and my trips became more frequent. So it started off with like one shoot, and I was there for like 3 days, and the next time it was like 4 days and 2 or 3 shoots, and it just kind of just snowballed and snowballed, and so much so that up to like 2011, I was actually in Ibiza more than I was in the UK. So I thought, well, this is pointless. I'm wasting too much money on hotels and flights. Let's just base myself here and then just hope that I'll get regular work. And then what actually happened was when I did base myself here for the summer, I got even more work than I could ever imagine, because people knew that you were here constantly and the work was regular.
What was the photography and videography scene like when you first arrived? Because obviously there's quite a few videographers and there's a lot of creatives now. But what was it like when you first? Were you one of the first? Was there a bunch of you? Was it different? Was it a different setup?
Things were very different back then because, well, when I first started shooting in Ibiza in 2006, it was even before Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook didn't launch in Europe till like 2007. So, apart from Don't Stay In, there was not really much social media at all. It was very minimal. So, for clubs to book a photographer is a little bit more of a luxury than a necessity. It just wasn't a thing. And now, like, I don't know, like not long, a few years after that, especially when sort of Facebook launched, and when Facebook made the events on there, it just became a necessity to have a photographer at every single event in Ibiza. But so what was good about that, and the timing wise, was that I was kind of ahead of the game before it was important. I kind of got in there and I was already established and doing what I was doing before it was important. So by the time it was important, I was just already there.
You've just made me realise something that so pennies just dropped. Every single photo I've used from our previous events back in the day, we never ever had a photographer. I've just realised. So every event, like with the Dirty Rottens and the Shipwrecks and all of the photos I've ever used for our groups have been people's from their like Kodak film, or digital cameras. Never.
Yeah, it was a customer's photos. It wasn't any professional.
Just the pennies dropped. And also, when Facebook come in, originally you couldn't upload photos, could you? It was just like it was quite difficult to do that, and we didn't have the phones to do it. And I think I remember. I still remember to the day the first time I ever saw someone upload a photo from their phone to Facebook, and it was a girl called Frankie Last. Do you know Frankie?
I know Frankie.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
She was on her way to an event in London, I think it was, with Loca Dice or something. I don't know why I remember this. And she posted a picture of it, and I went, "What, you can do that now? You can post pictures from your
game
phone."
changer.
And I was like, wow. And Frankie had done it. And because I used to spend quite a bit of time at Fuse in London. And it was around that sort of time. And I was just like, or a bit before. And I was like, wow, that's it. And then I suppose you're right. After that, all the events were going on Facebook and then Instagram. Whew, I bet it just absolutely took off. So you've obviously told me how you got your foot in the door. And has your creative style changed at all over the years?
Yeah, it has actually a little bit. So I used to, back when I was saying earlier about how I was obsessed with like, oh my God, you could shoot a party in the sunlight with a blue sky. And what with there not being as much blue sky in the UK, being cloudy a lot, I would make the blues really oversaturated, like too much like way too much. And that was my style, just to make everything super contrasty and punchy and just really like too colourful. But it was cool. It was, people liked it. I don't really do much of that anymore. No, not as much. Still a little bit, but not as much. But kind of, I just do a lot of different kind of styles on the photos.
But as you said,
now as well.
the cameras are so much more advanced now, aren't they? They pick up everything.
Yeah, cameras are so, every time a new generation of camera comes out, you find yourself having to edit less and less.
Yeah.
So in the early days, I would edit a lot to get what I wanted, because it was just, the images were just a bit flat and boring looking. And now the cameras can just, it's just they're done for you already.
And that was what I was going to ask. That how do you manage that time, the editing and the being on site time? Because people always forget this. The going to the on location and filming something, like, so even for this podcast, for example, we'll put B-roll in, we'll do this, and we'll edit it and stuff like that. It takes a lot of time. It takes longer to do that than the actual event. Well, it does for me anyway. How do you manage that time? I mean, when do you get a chance to do it? You must have to schedule very, very sensibly. Otherwise you overload yourself, surely.
Yeah, editing's a bit of a nightmare. It can just take up way too much of your time. But yeah, you just got to manage it in a way that, let's say you start shooting a daytime event at 5 p.m. and you can just, even if you wake up at 11 or 12, you can just edit it for a few hours before then if you need to.
Yeah.
Or I have an allocated editing day where I'll just, like, shut the curtains, turn the aircon on, not leave the house the whole day, and just do like 5-6 different like sets of photos and videos or whatever. You can just bang it out.
I kind of do that. I call it breaking the back of it.
Yeah, I do too, actually.
Yeah. I've got one of those days tomorrow. I mean, I spoke with a couple of DJs and friends last week on here, like Judge Jules and people like that, and I've got like a bit of a backlog. So tomorrow I'm in the office and it's really, really hot at the moment. So I've got aircon in the office and I can leave, and I'm just going to concentrate on like just breaking the back of the work.
Yeah, just getting shit done.
Because once I know it's like 90% there, I'm happy, because then I can go back in at another point with fresh eyes and then look at it again. I think you must do this as well. Do you always come back and look at content with fresh eyes if it's a video or something?
I just edit it straight away. Edit as fast as I can. We're not like kind of so that, not so that the qualities would get of bad by editing, but more importantly, to deliver the photos fast to my clients.
Yeah,
that's really important to me. Really important.
Yeah, no, that's something
I don't want to keep anyone waiting. Like if someone's got an event and they want to show the world what the event looks like. Yeah,
especially
give it to them the next day.
Especially with weekly events. Yeah. It's really important, because if you don't get those photos back in time, they can't promo with them. I mean, do you do many resident events anymore, like from week to week?
I used to, like for my first few years in Ibiza, I would like have so many like weekly residents in the clubs, but now I actually wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So
moved on from that.
I've got a lot of like kind of one-off clubs, which I really like doing the one-offs, because it just makes life more fun and interesting and different.
And you do more commercial shoots, like weddings and stuff like that.
Yeah,
they're probably more lucrative as well.
Yeah. Well, this year especially, it's been so varied. So I've done nightclubs, I've done like day parties like O Beach, and then I've done a lot of weddings. I've done a little bit of fashion. I do a lot of work with the Tribe, who runs speedboat charters, and shooting that with the drone, and that's something that's like a lot more calmer and a pleasurable experience than being in a nightclub. And the hours are great. I can go to sleep at normal time. If you're shooting a nightclub, sometimes in the old days, I'd be driving home when the sun's coming up, and that's gross.
Yeah. Absolutely. Especially because you're not a caner, obviously. You're sober, aren't you? So
completely teetotal. No drugs, no alcohol.
I mean, to get through that is a question. I'll just get out of the way now. How do you deal with the drunk people? Because in the clubs, obviously you don't do as many clubs now, but how long have you been teetotal for?
Since 1994.
No way. Wow. That is incredible.
So luckily for me, I've kind of stopped drinking before it was normal. You know, I was 17 actually when I stopped drinking. But what that's actually done was, when I was in my sort of earlier days of just DJing in the club, and later years become a photographer, you become more of a voyeur rather than. I've always felt like a bit of an outsider in a club actually, because everyone else is drinking or do drugs or whatever, and I'm kind of like,
You're not.
yeah, I'm a bit of an outsider. I'm a bit of a, so which actually works quite well with photography, because being the voyeur and watching people allows me to observe. Kind of a bit of a shame in some ways that I couldn't really get involved and be part of various communities where, they would just, everyone together would do drugs or whatever. But actually in hindsight, brilliant.
Yeah, but look at what you've created. You created yourself an incredible reputation. The work that you do is amazing, and I'm not just saying that, but it is. I know when I get a video back from you, like we've had one this week that's going live straight after this video, by the way.
Awesome.
That I know it's going to just fly, and I know it will convert for us, and people will have interest from it. And but yeah, that is amazing, because when I stopped drinking, my concentration level, preparation level, and just being alert, everything went 10x. Yeah, my productivity was just incredible. And obviously, if you're working through to the night,
100%.
The sun coming up, that must have been horrible.
Yeah. Well, going back to your question about how do you manage your time? Like,
Yeah.
and if I was kind of was drinking or whatever, and the next day you're hungover just on a calm down or whatever, that makes it really hard for well, there's a lot of club photographers that will do that or did that anyway, and they would struggle the next day to deliver hard and fast. But like it was always normalized that the club photographer could drink whilst being in the club, because they're in a club, because they're in an environment where it's normal to drink. But actually, if you think about it, it's not normal, because, any promoter, big or small, it's kind of like their professional life is in my hands, right? So, but if you deliver good quality, it's important. So how dare anyone be drunk and not perform as well just because it's normal?
Absolutely.
If you were doing a corporate job, you wouldn't drink.
You'd be sacked,
would you? If your photographer wouldn't. So why would a nightclub be any inferior to that just because we're in that environment?
I always say this: like, the music industry is probably the only industry that celebrates coming in hungover, or it's, and we find it really shortens the week. Trying to get older people on a Monday, impossible. Trying to get older people at the weekends, impossible. Fridays, they're off early, down the pub. And it's just like, it is the only industry. I suppose fashion may be a little bit similar. But yeah, it is normalized. If you have a hangover, it's fair enough. But if you did that with a normal job, if I did that, say, if I worked at London Underground, I'd get sacked on the spot.
Of course you would. And quite right too, because, and why should your music industry client be any inferior to your corporate client?
Yeah, no, it's a really fascinating insight you're giving me. I never knew you were teetotal this long. When you have different clients, do you have to prepare in different ways, or is it all?
I ask certain questions. Generally, when it's a promoter in a nightclub, or you're working for a club, usually the objective is the same. I do ask questions like, what is your objective? Like, who are you targeting? How you target them? And usually the outcome is the same. It's like, we want to see like big crowd shots of hands up in the air, make it look as amazing as possible. But yeah, that's sort of how I approach and attack the situation with dealing with new clients. But yeah, with any type of job, whether it's music business or other things, I'll ask them like, what is it that you want to see, and what is ideally the money shot for you, and like what's the priorities, what's your objective? So,
and once you've worked a couple of times with them, you know. Yeah.
It's pretty much the same, unless they ask for something specific and different.
Is there any particular piece of equipment that you could not work with? Obviously, your camera is really important, but is there anything that is particularly important nowadays that's changed the game for
Um,
you?
I think I usually take like 3 or 4 lenses to a nightclub. And I think they're all important. But I think, especially in clubs where, you know, people want to see how busy it is, it's important to have wide lenses, naturally.
Okay,
So
cool.
you can't do without a wide lens in a club.
I know nothing about
That's
photography.
important.
I know everything
Okay.
about an iPhone, and I obviously it's one skill that I would love to be able to do because I think when I see some of the shots that I get back, I'm just like, wow. It's just because we've had this conversation before. You like to capture the moment and the people's facial expressions as well, don't
I
you?
insist on it.
Wow.
I insist on it because quite traditionally in the club, people will ask the club photographer, "Please take my photo." Well, not always that politely, actually. And my response is always, "No, you cannot have a photo because anyone who asks for a photo should not get a photo because what are they doing? Well, you as a promoter, if you put up a picture of 2 people and their arms around each other and looking at the camera like this, jeez." What would you do with that? Would it sell tickets? We wouldn't. What does it say about your night? So it's the people who don't ask for a photo because they're too busy losing themselves to the music. Those are the people that make the best photos.
You've just answered my next question. I was just about to say, what is your secret to capturing energy? We've had this conversation before.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's not really a secret. I mean,
I've seen you work. I've
it's
seen you do it. I've actually seen you do this. I remember you kept seeing you a couple of times, and you just spot people in a certain moment, and you're there, but they don't realize you're there half the time, do they?
there's a thing that happens quite commonly, and it's not their fault because it's just instinctive for people. So I put my camera at someone, and there's a reason that I point my camera at someone because they're doing something amazing, or their facial expressions are amazing, doing something which I believe looks really good. And as soon as they see the camera, like they get into character and they start going and they start playing with their hair. Oh, how's my hair? Like I was like, no. There's a reason why my camera looked at you, and you look good. Go back to what you were doing 30 seconds ago, and carry on having a good time, and then I'll take a picture of you.
Has that got worse since Instagram has come along? More posing.
Well, actually, better because
They know how to.
now that phones are in recent years are pretty good quality, people can take photos of themselves very easily in the clubs, like really easily, and so there's like less demand for people to ask to have their photo taken like that. Plus, I think generally they don't see. Well, in the old days, especially on Don't Stay In, they'd be like people would upload whole albums of like 100 pictures, and they'd all, from a lot of the photographers, would be very boring. People looking at the camera and posing, all that kind of nonsense. But I think people don't see those kind of uploads anymore, do they?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I've got so many Don't Stay In photos. Just thankful because I opened the Ibiza worker group and people had saved them over the years, and they obviously sent them into the group and they posted them on the group, and I saved them all. And through these podcasts, a lot of them will be Don't Stay In photos. I mean, obviously, it is a hard job. What is the unglamorous side of the job? Is it the hours? Is it the dealing with people?
Yeah, I mean, it is sometimes the hours because it just kind of messes up your sleeping pattern and you feel a bit shit in the morning. But yeah, sometimes, like I'm talking about the 0.1%. Most people are just like totally cool in a nightclub and respectful and just normal people. You get some people are really, really annoying and they invade your personal space and your boundaries, and they're just, and I think there's something about, and it's not just the alcohol. I mean, people really lose their inhibitions a lot, and it's a cross between alcohol and drugs, and actually the environment of being a nightclub that gives people the feeling permission, like have permission to like touch you and do weird things like that. Like,
Yeah.
there's a certain event where people would like. I used to have a much longer moustache. People would go and like touch it without even saying hello. It was like, what are you doing? Why are you being weird? Like, what is that? You wouldn't do that if you was in a supermarket on high street. You just wouldn't do that to a stranger, would you?
Exactly. I mean, I know exactly what you're saying. I went down to, I live in Zurcher, near Zurcher where the super clubs are. And I was doing something for a website we had. And I went down with a camera on a gimbal. It was a GoPro. And I was just going around the club. And all of a sudden, this drunk guy just jumped out and grabbed it off me, but on the GoPro itself, and just yanked it out of my hands.
Why?
He thought it was a
What's wrong with people?
He thought it was a microphone. He started doing that.
Even if it was a microphone, what right does he have to say something?
I know.
Strange
I mean,
people.
it does infuriate me. I mean, now I'm sober and I work in the clubs occasionally. I don't actually. I'm not operational anymore. I don't put myself in that situation where I've actually got to work in the club. I can leave anytime I want now, and it's purely because the first time I think we did Amnesia, Kevin and Perry. I was meant to be helping Nick out doing some bits and bobs within the club, but at 2:00 I wanted to go home. Everyone was so drunk and they were in my ear and they wanted this and they wanted that. And if it was me 10 years before that, when I was drinking, I probably wouldn't have minded, but I just found it so hard work and it kind of ruined that first event for me. But it taught me a really big lesson as well, that I'm not the same person anymore.
Actually, I get asked a lot from people like, what do you prefer, DJing or photography? And actually, I can tell you now from doing both, DJing is a lot more fun and relaxing, but mainly because you're in your cozy little DJ booth and you don't have to like deal with a crowd of people, and you don't have to like swim through the crowd and getting harassed and stuff like that. So yeah, so DJs have got it lucky in comparison.
I mean, I struggle to, I mean, especially when we've got like busy nights at Amnesia and getting through, because Amnesia is quite difficult to navigate with going through the main room when they've got a solid main room and it's popular, getting through that main room and just into the terrace. I hate it. And it's literally every time I get to like the green room, I'll get a phone call and someone's stuck outside by the VIP. And it takes me another 20 minutes to get through. I mean,
did you ever go there in 2013 at Cream? Did you ever go to that?
I was at Cream before 2013 many times.
So Cream, I was the resident photographer weekly at Cream at Amnesia for a few years. And I think around 2013, 2014, they had Calvin Harris as the bi-weekly resident, and the other week was Laid Back Luke. And when Calvin Harris was on, like, I actually loved taking a picture. There's so many amazing like moments there to take pictures of, but getting from A to B, getting through the crowds with a bag with lenses and stuff, absolute nightmare.
Nick was telling me all about it because he was running it at the time. And he was telling me about those Kevin Harris nights, and it's busy enough just with Kevin and Perry, and I can't imagine what it's like when it was Elrow and Paradise and things like that over the last few years before they moved. It must have been horrendous, but yeah, it's not fun, especially when you're sober.
And it can't be fun for the people dancing, because surely nightclubs were invented for people to have like freedom and expression to dance and move the way they want to. You can't.
Yeah.
What can you do when you're just shoulder to shoulder with people? You just up, down, or put your hands up. Like you can't dance properly.
This is why we really try and balance the artists now in Kevin and Perry. We try and have a strong terrace as well, but a really, very different terrace. And I think this year we've got the Stash and Chicane. We've got both of them from Kevin and Perry.
Nice.
Yeah. We've got some really good stuff going on the terrace, and musically it's going to be fantastic. And we found the better it gets musically on the terrace, the less pressure it takes off that main room. Because the first Kevin and Perry, it was just everyone was trying to get into the main room, and it was just like, it was.
Well, I think it was. This would be the association with the film, because it was all filmed in that room, and that was where it was all at.
Absolutely, and it was in June. It was like a test event, but it was just like everyone in there, and the terrace was a little bit thin. So now, if you were to enter like the industry now as a photographer creator, what advice would you give to somebody just starting out?
Well, anyone who's just coming to Ibiza, whether they're like a photographer or like a kind of stage performer, entertainer, or a DJ, young DJ, I would say the same thing to everyone: is that every year that you work in Ibiza, you gain value, and I think that's with like so many different jobs and business owners. You get more known, you get your reputation. You just gain value every single year. So yeah, just have patience
Yeah.
and stick with it. You're going to start off small. Of course, you have to start small, and then you just kind of build up your clientele, your reputation.
All I wanted was a
Uh,
bar job when I got to Ibiza. I just wanted a bar job, any job, any job. And within,
and now you're stuck with running parties.
yeah, that's to be honest, that's actually been in my blood since I was at university. But when I went to Ibiza, I was just kind of escaping a lot of stuff, and I just wanted to live there and just. I was really into music, though. Well, that's why I went. I loved music, and I think I've had this discussion with quite a few other people on this podcast about the reason why people come to Ibiza nowadays. Is it the same as it was 20 years ago? Because 20 years before social media, because people were coming because they loved music. They were just getting away from something that is more hedonistic. But now Facebook kind of gave everybody a glimpse. When it started, it just gave everybody a glimpse of this island. And I think it opened a portal of people to come over. And it's a different type of person that came over when the social media era started. I mean, do you agree with that as well?
I do, but I've got a bit of a counter argument to that, and that is when people talk about it's not as good as it was in the old days. I think that's kind of nonsense, because you could say someone could be talking about the early 2000s as in that's the heyday,
Yeah.
and like, oh, that was amazing back then, and they talk about certain DJs. But actually, if you went to a club then, you'd get people saying the
80s,
same thing. It'd be like,
90s, yeah.
oh, but back in the early 90s,
Yeah.
it was much better then, and not as good as it was. But I think it's more to do with your age. Like, so you might have like you couple of older men that stand at the back of clubs, scratching it, stroking a chin, going, "It's not like it used to be in the old days." Rubbish. It's more about like the experience you have as a youngster,
Yeah.
and the kind of the excitement that you feel.
I don't know whether
and they don't have that excitement anymore. So
I don't know whether you saw, but I covered Universe when it opened. I didn't go, but I was just seeing so much negativity by people that didn't go online, and I was like, that's not fair, you know. So I just did this 10-minute video, and it's got thousands of views, because I was just like, you got to remember, in the last 10 years, technology has come on so far. And what people are seeing in clubs now is a show. It's a spectacle. It's not just a raw stripped back party anymore. The shit they got going on over a Universe and at High and Ushuaia is just breathtaking visually. So it's just a different era altogether. So I think it's that argument that you said that it's not as good as it was. I was hearing that in 2000.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
You know,
but you know, there's a counter argument with Universe, because people could be like, they look at, like, you know, there's like Fisher coming down on the through the ceiling on the cables floating through the air, and people go, what's that? That's not music, it's just a gimmick. But then actually the counter argument is that it's entertainment, and people go to the club for recreation and to be entertained. That's primarily
entertainment
what
business.
it is.
Yeah,
it is entertainment. Whether it's like straight up clubbing or not is irrelevant. What is the most important thing is customers who are paying for their ticket have a great time. Really, that's all that matters.
see, Manumission was never really about the music, was it?
No, of course not. It was all about the sex shows and everything.
Yeah. And who was it? One of the a DJ put a statement out a few days ago, and he brought up Manumission, and quite rightly. They did the sex show, but the whole club stopped, and it was just a complete distraction because people were waiting for this to happen. And I guarantee, if there were camera phones then, everyone would have had them out, you know. And I believe, I don't know whether this is true, Mike, Andy, haven't got a clue, that a part of the reason why it was stopped was because it was damaging the atmosphere. I believe.
Well, because they stopped the music and then
It was a music, and
yeah.
everyone was just waiting for it, and I believe that was something to do with it. And obviously, it was very controversial and very raunchy.
Perhaps it was attracting crowds that
Were
weren't there for the music or to dance. They were just there to
perv.
perv on the sex shows, which
Yeah.
is fair enough because that's what they provided to people.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah,
what they got.
But I heard that it from people, because I worked at Manumission, and those days of that show, the atmosphere just changed. It just slowed down, getting towards the end of the night because of the anticipation of what was about to happen. And I believe that that's got something to do with why it was removed and etc. But who knows? Stories in Ibiza, do you know? So, do you see yourself more of like of a documentarian, like or a storyteller when you're as a photographer?
I like a bit of both actually, but I think I see myself shooting a lot more documenting stuff,
Yeah.
as in at events, you're shooting what happens. There's an element of bending the truth on that sometimes
Mm-hmm.
when you can kind of make things happen
Yeah.
to your advantage in the clubs. But also at the same time, also like doing kind of like fashion shoots and music videos where you can actually create and you can tell people what it is you want and need to get that shot. So, but I like the balance.
Yeah, because with
To have
some events,
both.
you can make a poor event look amazing. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just sometimes, like, say if we've had with a seasonal event, it's difficult because it's up and down, up and down, up and down,
Mhm.
and then you get the photos back and you're like, wow,
Yeah,
he's
there
made it look amazing.
Yeah, there's often an element of bullshitting when it comes to events like that. When you've got an event that is not as good, sometimes that's the real skill. But when you've got an event that is just like perfect, the photographer gets way too much credit for that.
I don't think the photographers get any credit, really. I really don't.
They don't at all, no.
I really don't. And that's why I wanted to get you on, Mark, because
Oh, I appreciate it.
I think you're the unsung heroes, because I know the amount of work that goes into it. And when I get the stuff back, I'm just like, this is genius. And then you're doing so many different events, and then you've got the editing side of it that no one sees. But obviously, the editing photography is much easier now. But editing videography, you still got to do that, you know, and that still takes time. And you've got quite, as I said, we had this discussion the other day. Your attention to detail is very high when it comes to
I'm
videography.
kind
and
of fussy, and I know what I want in the video, and I know what kind of got good standards.
Yeah.
With what kind of content goes in the video, and it's not so much about what people look like; it's more about what they're doing. I don't really care so much about how good looking someone is, but what I think it's more superior to have someone, however they look, to have that energy and emotion. You know, they're looking at the DJ and they've got this like emotional thing going on. That's the kind of thing that I feel is more important.
Absolutely, and that shines through in the videos that you do for us. We very rarely, I don't think I've ever sent amends back to you, but yeah, it's let's kind of like wrap this up with a big topic. What are your thoughts on mobile phones in clubs? It's such a talking point.
Yeah, everyone's talking about that, but my opinion on that is, which is probably the same as everyone else's opinion, but that when you've got a phone and you're filming, you cannot immerse yourself in music. You cannot be present and feel that moment. It's not possible. You can't. So, and the priority with filming is so that you post on Instagram and to show your friends and your followers where you are, what you're doing. That's the priority over what you're doing in the present.
And
that's kind of a shame.
Yeah. And to get those likes and that endorphin hit, and you know, it's a bit more narcissistic as well, I suppose, in a way. Do you think it's gone excessive? I mean, I see some events now where it's just like, oh my God.
I've seen some posts on Instagram, and I honestly have never seen anything like that in real life. It's horrific. You've got like massive DJs, massive artists, but they're literally standing on with their phones. They're not even moving.
Yeah.
Anything. They just stood there. At least like most 90% of people with their phones up, they're kind of having a little dance or whatever. But when the drop comes, nothing. They're just standing there still.
I've seen these
That's
videos,
horrific.
and I'm just like, what are how do the DJs?
What is it?
How do the DJs? I see one with Marco Corolla not too long ago,
I think that's the one I saw actually.
and I'm just like, his face, he just didn't look right. It was just like, what's going on here? Everyone's on their phones. And
Yeah.
I've seen quite a few of these videos, because I've got kind of a, we're never going to get rid of it, let them do it. But I think that these stickers over phones, camera lenses,
Great
idea.
that.
Great idea. And it works at Fabric. It works at Bergain.
That's where it started from, wasn't it?
Yeah. And
started that.
I think they even have, these bags, don't they?
Do it.
They've got the bags that they put their phone in. Do you think having covers over phone camera lenses would be a good thing for the industry?
Definitely. Well, it depends what you prioritize. If you prioritize the good atmosphere, vibe, people having a genuinely good time and loving the music, I think it's great. I think people actually enjoy the concept of having the stickers on their phone. I think it's just like a fun novel thing to do. But if you're the kind of club that values free marketing from people sharing their videos online, that's a whole different thing, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the problem. Some clubs and promoters, they are desperate for that promotion now to cut through that noise out there. And I think if you are a Fabric or if you are a Bergain or one of those, you don't have to have, you got people naturally organically coming to you. I think maybe some of the nights it should be down to the promoter to decide, like, do you really need, some nights should, some nights shouldn't, maybe. I don't know, but it's something that's not going to go away. I think everyone needs to just draw a line under it. And these kids are having fun at the end of the day, aren't they? So
that's ultimately the most important thing, isn't it? I remember going to space many years ago without my camera and just feeling feelings that I'd never had before at space before. I was like, wow, this is amazing. Because when you're holding the camera, take pictures, you're doing a purpose, you're having a purpose there. But but when you're without the camera and you're just watching the DJ, listening to music and dancing with your friends, it's a whole different experience.
Yeah.
So from that experience, I know for sure that, you can't be fully present in the moment.
Do you remember the drawer at space they had for people's phone cameras? You couldn't take cameras in. At the front door, at the front desk, they used to put it out. They used to put a little thing on it, a marker on it, and put them in there. And you had to pay like €3 just because you brought a camera.
I'd totally forgotten about that. I think that was in the days where it was very rare to have a camera on your phone, or it was rare for people to bring a camera in there.
Yeah, the digital cameras. Yeah.
But then when every single person in the world had a iPhone or Android, and it's like that just became impossible.
Well, it was another revenue stream for them, wasn't it? They had the in-house camera guys who were taking the photos, and then like Amnesia. I remember I used to
sell key rings.
Yeah, I used to come into Amnesia to do the lighting with Simon from Aladdin Lighting, and people used to come up to the side entrance at the back, come into the little photo booth and pick up their photos.
I very, very rarely get asked, oh, do you do key rings? And I'm thinking, you're really showing your age with that kind of question.
Yeah.
Key rings, come on.
Who is it up the West End? Someone, Louis. I can't remember now, but he used to go into all the bars and take your photo and then drop the photos to your hotels. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I think I used that service once. I remember having a picture taken with friends just in the street in the West End, and then they'd give you a ticket, you'd pay money, and the next day when it got developed, you'd go and pick up your prints from them.
Or you go to they come to the hotel or something like that. It's it was how times have changed. Which club has the least phones up in the air on the dance floor?
This is an interesting one. A lot of people would assume that it's like somewhere like really cool, like DC-10. No, absolutely not. Pikes doesn't count because they put stickers on the phone anyway. So let's just rule them out. So actually, I think the club that has the least phones up on the dance floor is O Beach, which is actually surprising, isn't it? Because you'd kind of associate that place with like people kind of like want to pose and take pictures of themselves, but actually, yeah, there's way less phones on the dance floor than any other party in Ibiza, for real.
Why is that?
I think it's to do with the music they play, and they play a lot of music that people know. They like to have a good sing song on the dance floor, and they are fully immersed in that, and then feel the need less to get their phones out, and they're just fully in that moment.
Yeah, that's good, and I suppose they do put a lot of effort into getting ready and going there, and they all look fantastic. I see them all piling down the street, and obviously a lot of photos do happen before and after and during. But that is crazy to hear, but it's good to hear as well, because sometimes O Beach gets a bit of a punch in the side, but even though they do so well. But yeah, I went to O Beach last year. Sam Dungate invited me down, and I'd never been there before. And I tell you what, I had a really good time.
You like to, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I think
yeah.
in the earlier years at O Beach, I think it was a bit of a posy kind of place. But then in the much later years, and even in the middle, it's just a really good atmosphere there. Actually,
It was fun, I can't deny it. I had great fun there.
as a photographer, and it's my job to like observe people's faces on a dance floor, see what they're doing. Like their facial expressions are genuine, and they're like excited, and they're dancing, and that's all I need to take a picture anyway.
Weird.
And,
I went down there first time, didn't know what to expect, heard all these things about it being like a bit posery and stuff, and then I ended up being with Sam, and he introduced me to some of his mates, and I left, and I hooked up. His mates all come down to our events later on in the evenings. We were doing the One More Time holiday, and I tell you what, it was a really, really good day. I met some really good people there. So yeah, I was surprised, but I'm not really into going out as much anymore because of the
Same.
sobriety and stuff like that. But I'm going to ask you a question because of your DJing. Do you have, as this podcast is called One More Tune, what would be your last tune of the night if you had to pick one? Do you have a favorite track of all time, like a one more tune moment? I've surprised you here, haven't I?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if it depends on the context. It was like the last tune of my life. If it was the last tune, like, and I knew I was going to die the next day, which sounds super morbid. I think I would play "Everyone Loves the Sunshine" by Roy Ayers.
Okay,
it's such a tune.
Yeah.
And it's not the kind you can't dance to it though.
Yeah. No.
But that's the tune that just popped in my mind just now.
That's cool. It's cool. No, I've had some amazing last tunes, and DJs hate me asking it.
It's a really hard one.
Yeah,
actually, because
I mean, some people.
There's just too many to choose from, isn't there?
Yeah. And I asked Jules the other day, I said, and he said, you know what, it's different now because again, the environment's changed, and he doesn't do a lot of last sets, where years ago it used to be a lot busier on the dance floor till 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, because as you say, we were a little bit more full on, and now trying to get someone to do that last set of the night is a little bit more difficult nowadays than it was back then. So Jules said he couldn't possibly give me a last tune because he hasn't done it for so long, and loads of people have got about 10.
What's interesting is you don't hear that this as it's called One More Tune. You used to hear that every night. Everyone would be chanting one more tune at the end of the night. And I've forgotten about that. And you don't hear that anymore, do you?
No, you don't at all. And I mean, there used to be, like when I went to Strawberries, there used to be, there were two tracks that you knew it was the end of the night when they came on. First one, I can never remember the name of it. It was in the original Strawberry Sundays venue, but it was just Chris Martin used to drop it. I can never ever remember the names. So sorry, Chris and Duncan. But then it moved, and the last tune of the night was always Tall Paul Rock the House. That was the final tune of the night. As soon as you heard that, the beginning of that tune, you knew that was it, last tune. So yeah, no, it was yeah, you're completely right. When was the last time you actually heard that chant?
Years
and years ago. Yeah,
it used to be normal. It used to be like every single time you went to a nightclub, people shouting one more tune at the end of the night. And then it would be like, no, the security says no way. So the DJ would be like, I really want it, but I'm not allowed to. And it would just always be a whole thing like that. But no, you don't.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, we've covered some great stuff here, Mark. I mean, it's been fascinating. It's been triggered some old memories as well, which is great. And I say that to a lot of people because my memory is not the best these days. But thank you very much for your time. And I'll be seeing you in Ibiza. And yeah, this is an interview I really wanted to do because I wanted to get the viewpoint of a photographer who's pretty much done it all over in Ibiza. Another question: do you do much work outside of Ibiza now?
Yeah.
What do you do in the winter?
I live so in the winter, every year I do a festival in Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a really interesting one. It's a company called Polygon. And what is the most special and unique thing about Polygon is their sound system and their lighting structure, but the sound system particularly because we listen to music which has only 2 channels, left and right, which is stereo, and that's normal. Pretty much is what most people listen to. They have like something like 50 channels. And they have a specially made dome, so you got and the producers have to redo their tunes in a special studio with their stems, so you get like a certain sound that could spin around one way, you get a different sound that spins another way, and you get a vocal from the top, and it just sounds like nothing else, like nothing you've ever heard before.
What sort of music is it?
It's hard to put.
Is it not side trance? Is it?
No, it's more like
sounds like something side trance would do.
No, it's not side trance. It's it's more like kind of worldly music. There's a lot of kind of music that you might hear at Burning Man.
Right, okay.
And and there's some house, of course.
I do everything.
It's house based.
Okay, gotcha.
But there's many different kind of genres.
Yeah, this is the next realm. I'm interested to see where sound systems are going now. I was always pictured in my mind like there's always been so many problems with sound pollution. Like if someone could create some magic dome that you could put just noise into and it just didn't leak out, and that's going to happen one day. So anyway, we're veering off the topic. Mark, thank you very much for joining me today. And I will see you in Ibiza.
Yeah, see you soon. Cheers.